Summary of the Sympathizer by Viet Thanh Nguyen. The narrator calls himself a spy, a sleeper, a spook, a man of two faces to the commandant, who has him jailed in a North Vietnamese detention center. The narrator is both a captain in the South Vietnamese army and a North Vietnamese spy, working for Man, who is one of his blood brothers. The narrator talks about how Saigon fell on April 30, 1975. Claude, the narrator's teacher and a CIA agent, sets up a way for the general and Madame, a highly important South Vietnamese couple, to leave Saigon with their main family and other family members. As part of the narrator's plan, certain staff members will also be able to get on the plane. These people include the narrator's other blood brother Bon, Bon's wife Lynn, and their son Duc. The US government gets C-130 planes ready for the flight. But the plane is destroyed by an attack on the runway. This attack could have been from the Viet Cong or from angry South Vietnamese troops. The refugees who are still alive run toward another plane that was originally meant for active-duty US troops. The reporter sees that Bon and his family are behind schedule during the run. He turns around to find them and sees Bon sitting on the ground with his wife and son's bodies in his arms. The narrator quickly gets Bon on the plane that is ready. The plane lands in Guam first, and then at Camp Pendleton in San Diego. The narrator, the general, Madame, and Bon all decide to live in Los Angeles. With the help of Avery Wright Hammer, a professor from Occidental College, the narrator gets a job working for the head of the Department of Oriental Studies at his old school. There, the narrator learns about racism in the United States again and how Asian people are fetishized. Another person he meets is Ms. Sophia Mori, who is the secretary for the department. They fall in love. The reporter also works as a driver for the general sometimes, but not for pay. The narrator sees Lon, the general and Madame's oldest child, for the first time since she was a girl at the wedding of the daughter of a Vietnamese Marine colonel and the son of the vice president of the Saigon branch of Bank of America. Nana is her name. Lana left Vietnam to go to college at the University of California, Berkeley. When the writer sees her again, she lives in Brentwood, works at an art studio, and is also trying to become a singer. The narrator thinks she is both talented and beautiful, but Lana's parents are embarrassed by how she acts on stage and think it will hurt her chances of getting married. The narrator also meets up with Sunny, an old college friend who now runs a newspaper in Vietnamese. A year after he gets there, the general opens a booze shop and hires Bon to work there. At the same time, Madame starts a pho eatery. Because there were so many workers in her home country, she never tried to cook. But now that she lives in the United States, where things are more modest, she has to do more housework and finds that she is good at cooking. The restaurant and booze shop make money, along with the general's charity, the Benevolent Fraternity of Former Soldiers of the Republic of Vietnam. This money helps pay for a rebel army that wants to take back control of Vietnam from the communists. At the wedding, the narrator also meets the congressman, an anti-communist Republican from Orange County. The congressman later sets up a meeting at a country club with other Westerners who feel sorry for South Vietnam's situation, including the narrator's hero, Dr. Richard Head. The general keeps fighting a war against the Viet Cong and people who support them by using the ties he has made in California and South Vietnam. At one point, he tells the reporter that he thinks there is a spy among them while they are talking alone in the storeroom of his booze shop. The narrator gives the name of the bad major to draw attention away from the fact that he is the mole. At first, the general doesn't believe this, but the fact that the major is both fat and Chinese makes him think that the major is a spy. Bon agrees to kill the big guy. He and the narrator, who quickly feels bad about calling the nice man a spy, go to the major's apartment complex to wait for him. At the gas station, where he works as an assistant, they know he'll be back soon. The narrator gives the major a bag of gifts that he got in Chinatown that same day. It is the 4th of July. After that, Bon shoots the major in the head from behind. Soon after the major is killed, which Bon calls an assassination, the narrator leaves California to work on a movie called The Hamlet in the Philippines. His name was given to the film's director, the auteur, by the congressman as a writing advisor. The goal of the narrator is to make sure that the movie has Vietnamese characters and shows them properly. Instead, he fights with the auteur and is almost killed in the film's makeshift graveyard during an explosion that was planned ahead of time. In return for $10,000, the narrator frees the movie company from all responsibility. The narrator gives half of the money to the scumbag major's widow when he gets back to Los Angeles. Upon his return, he also learns that Sonny is now seeing Sophia and that the two are deeply in love. For the general, Sonny is a problem because of his left-wing views and the pieces he writes that tell refugees to forget about the war. The narrator wants to go back to Vietnam with Bon, who has decided to join the general's rebel army. The general tells the narrator he can go as long as he kills Sonny. He knows that Man doesn't want him to go back to Vietnam, but he still does it to save Bon's life. The narrator agrees to kill Sonny because the general challenged him, so he shoots his old friend 5 times while visiting his apartment. The narrator leaves for Bangkok, Thailand. At the airport, he and Bon meet up with Claude again. The narrator goes to a theater in Bangkok to see the Hamlet. It occurs to him that his name has been left out of the titles. Bon doesn't like the movie and says it doesn't do their people justice. Instead, the narrator says that there would have been no Vietnamese characters at all if it weren't for him. This person telling the story and Bon leave Thailand and go to Laos. They are almost in Vietnam when the communists attack their camp and arrest them. They have been in a prison camp for more than a year. This person has to write his statement because the commandant told them to. He is also tortured in different ways to help him answer the question, "What is more valuable than independence and freedom?" asked by the camp's commandant. It's hard for the narrator to answer the question. He also comes to terms with the fact that the commissar, who is holding him captive, is actually his old friend Man, whose face has been burnt so badly by napalm that he can't recognize it. They agree to let the narrator and Bon leave the camp when the narrator learns that the answer to his question is nothing, which means that the only thing that exists for sure is nothingness. The men are sent back to Saigon for a short time. After being taken across the Mekong River on a ferry, they are sent out of the country on a fishing boat that can hold 150 people. The tank is too small and stuffy. The storyteller knows that he might not make it through the trip. But if he does, he will give up on any cause that isn't connected to the only one he thinks matters right now, his will to live.
About the author. Nguyen was born in South Vietnam, in the city of Ban My Thuot. In 1975, he and his family left Vietnam. In 1978, they made San Jose, California their permanent home and opened a Vietnamese grocery store there. Growing up in a rough area, Nguyen remembers that his parents often worked 12 to 14-hour days. They were both shot during an attempted robbery one Christmas Eve. Despite their efforts, Nguyen was able to get a prep school education. After high school, he applied to and briefly attended both UCLA and the University of California, Riverside. Eventually, he chose to go to the University of California, Berkeley, where he got degrees in English and Ethnic Studies in 1992. He kept studying at Berkeley for his graduate work and got his PhD in English in 1997. After that, he became a teacher and works at the University of Southern California as the Errol Arnold Chair of English and as a professor in the English, American Studies and Ethnicity, and Comparative Literature departments. What Nguyen wrote for the first time was a scholarly work. Race and Resistance, Literature and Politics in Asian America looks at how Asian Americans have used literature to get their political points across. From 1896 to 1996, 100 years are covered in the study. Nothing Ever Dies, Vietnam and the Memory of War and the Displaced, Refugee Writers on Refugee Lives are two other non-fiction books by the author. Nguyen put out a series of short stories called The Refugees in 2017. He has also written a lot of articles and reviews and put together a book about the new field of Trans-Pacific Studies. In 2016, The Sympathizer won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction. Nothing Ever Dies was in the running for the National Book Award in Nonfiction. Nguyen was named a MacArthur Fellow in 2017.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.